Hey guys, thank you very much for clicking on this video and welcome to Small Merchant CRO, improving your results with minimum investment. I'm your host Samuel Larsen from growgurus.com, and today we are going to look into data analytics. And when it comes to website optimization, some people like to start from here. Some people like to look at the site first. It's a little bit of a preference thing. There's no exactly right answer to this where to start. It really doesn't matter much since you pretty much need to understand the basic functionality of the site. You need to definitely understand the data part as well. Now, I'm going to keep it relatively short here because this really could be a 20-hour video. Analytics is such a deep topic, and we are also in the middle of Google Analytics becoming a thing. So there is much to discuss about analytics in general. And I'm going to keep it short and sweet, focusing on the key reports and focusing on with that small merchant approach, where can you get the biggest bang for the buck? So analytics, something to know first, analytics will tell us what has happened, but it doesn't tell us why. And that's the key part there. We will understand visitor behavior and definitely past behavior only from analytics, but we need to still piece together the solution. And this is something that you can actually do at the same time that you are doing your technical thing. So it's a nice thing to keep things moving forward. You can have one person looking at the site bugs, and you can have one person looking at the analytics. So by no means does it mean that you have to only do one part at a time. You can really fly with this process. And momentum is everything, because e-commerce is a game for fast people. Things are moving forward all the time. You need to keep improving to stay relevant. Okay, back with the screen share. Now, we have already covered technical analysis in part 1. You may not have completed that yet, but let's jump into part 2 stuff. So web analytics analysis. And what I also like to do is cover mouse tracking analysis as well, because this to me is simply data analysis. We are after insights here. We're going to become wise from this data set. And another thing that will make you very wise indeed is, of course, hitting the like button. Thank you very much for that in advance. Let's jump into this one. Now, here with analytics, it's actually pretty simple. They have a lot of pretty useful reports on the left-hand side of the screen. So when we look at the different reports here in Google Analytics 3, and it will be very similar on the next version as well, you have your audience, acquisition, behavior, and conversions. Those 4 sections, and you can just look through these sections to get the insights into how your store is doing. Now, there's often a problem with new merchants. They don't know what is good. So let's cover that with some benchmarks as well. So you'll have an idea. Now with the analytics analysis, we are first looking for direction and second looking for insights. And direction is important because we want to focus on the key elements of the page. So that would be understanding where people are coming from, where are they landing, and where they are exiting. So that's the 3 parts that we're going to focus on this. And then we're also going to pull some insights along the way, at least the most glaring ones. So first of all, we have the audience. And this pretty much follows the same structure that we should approach this with, because here you have that visitor landing the site. Only then do they do some things, and only then can they become a customer. So it's a very natural way to approach this, the way that the Google Analytics is set up. I'm here at the audience overview report. And very first thing you can do here is just click here, select last, usually 28 days, and see how many users you have. Typically you need to have at least 1,500 a month in order for this to be any sensible to do this, because otherwise you just have so few users. You haven't really properly tested your business at that point. So I'd recommend first getting that 1,500 a month is around 50 users per day. So we are talking about fairly low numbers. When you really think that for you to get consistent conversions, even only daily sales, you probably need at least a couple hundred visitors. Because some days your conversion rate will be 0, you won't make any sales. And any sales, it's not really a proper business at that point if you're not able to do that. It's tough to optimize on a situation where you are not making any sales. You need something more revolutionary at that point. Then bounce rate wise, you're looking for something less than 80%. Really depends how much traffic you have in general and where the traffic is coming from. That's the key part there. So if Also, if you have a lot of people landing straight to the product page, maybe the product is expensive, they're coming from ads, you can expect pretty high bounce rate. So there's a tough to put absolute numbers oftentimes here, but that's a good benchmark you can start from. Then your new and returning visitors quite depends on your pricing as well. But generally you're looking to have at least 15% here. So you have some people that are coming back to the store. This also means that your retargeting works better and is in place. So if you have anything under 15%, you're probably making a mistake. All right, and then demographics is more like an overall information about your target audience, but you can also check here like which ones have converted, and there you can do that. So it's adding a segment here, and then you can see like converters, for example. You might have this segment, you might have some other segments depending on your setup. So these are like sometimes custom segments that we've done for our clients, and there you can compare which segments are working for you if you have the data. Also, like you can check on the age groups, etc., to understand your audience, genders, and location. So these are all like things in the audience tab where you will understand the visitor better. This is the same thing that you had on the overview, the new and returning. So more straightforward here. You can take a look at where the revenue is coming from. So does it require multiple touch points for you to get a conversion? Or are you also getting conversions from new visitors? Good to understand, because in some cases maybe there is more explanation, research needed, and then you might want to go for a little bit of a softer conversion, more of that, like email subscriptions, for example. And there's more of an advanced report, but might be helpful as well, understanding the buyer path, the frequency and reasons report in the behavior plan. Browsers and their conversion rates can be useful for the technical part, understanding that and how that is behaving. Then one of the best reports in general, and the one that everyone should be familiar with, is the mobile overview report. So audience mobile overview. Here you will see how mobile is performing compared to desktop. Now, benchmark wise, you'd want your mobile to be around half of what the desktop is. So desktop should convert better. It's just a different device, easier to use, easier to check out, more comfortable. Many people feel more secure about it. And also, it's kind of a more focused device. You might just be using your phone when you're waiting for a bus, and then forget all about it. You might not have the time to do that, where desktop you usually have many reasons why this might be different. So those are good benchmarks. I wouldn't care so much about your pages per session or average session duration, but it's good to understand and see the differences that you might have between the devices. So this is where the segmentation can be very useful. May not matter so much overall, but you can check what the differences are on desktop versus mobile. Same goes for bounce rate. Especially if you have low sales, these kinds of micrometrics here, bounce rate, pages per session, can be very useful. So something to look out for. Then you can check the device performance. Usually you expect Apple iPhones to perform better, conversion revenue wise, because they are more expensive, more capital to use, so to say. All right, next up, I just pulled one of my favorite reports here. So this is moving to the site performance. And this one that I usually look at after audience, I like to skip it here to the shopping behavior, because this is really the meat of the funnel. And this is something that you might not have set up depending on your e-commerce software. But you can see how many sessions you have, which part of that ends up in the product page, what are the add to cart rates, what are the checkouts, and then of course transactions. So here you're looking for an add to cart rate that depends really on your average order value. But generally it should be more than 5%. If you have less than 5%, probably there's things to improve further up the funnel, either getting more people to really buy into the product on the product page, or even on further up, like your first touch points. Then you'd expect around 70% to drop out from add to cart before they buy. So that's the dark side of e-commerce. You're always going to have a lot of cart abandonments. You're going to have more of them in industries like fashion, because people just collect what they like, and then they end up not buying. And yeah, you might have a lot of concerns about sizing, etc. as well. And then you have industries that are more boring, and nobody's really shopping for fun, maybe there's less price comparison as well, then you can expect a higher conversion from add to carts to transactions. Now, with your email, if you do email very well, you will be able to reduce that number a bit. So maybe you get it down to like 60% or even further down with that. So that's where email can really help. All right, let's look into the behavior reports then. So we skipped into this one. So we moved from acquisition report to behavior reports. Acquisition is more what happens before the site. So you probably already know that because most people are very focused on the ads anyway. And here, let's look into this one. So all pages report is the report that shows which pages are used the most. It doesn't discriminate between whether it's the first page, second page, third page, etc. It's simply which pages are used the most. You can see here the entrances as well. So this is where the people that land on this page, and you can see the exit rates. So this is very relevant for the next two reports, understanding what these are. And nice thing with Google Analytics is that you can always go to the question mark if you don't know what this is about. Okay, moving on, there's a report about landing pages. So this is where people enter the site. So all landing page views here are entrances, like you saw here in the all pages report. And this is important because you can see how the bounce rates affect here. So which pages are working as landing pages from a bounce rate perspective, but you can also see from the conversion rate perspective. So in this kind of case, it was pretty poor. And then you can see which pages are leading to more page views. So maybe like this particular page seems like there's a really high bounce rate and really low pages per session. So of course, like we have super low sample size here as well. So something to keep in mind, but this is a very insightful report. And here, like one thing you can do to instantly improve your store is pay a lot of attention to your key landing pages, especially the ones that have a high bounce rate. So there you're starting to ask the question, why is this? And that's a little bit on the next part. So if you haven't already subscribed to that, make sure to do that now, so you won't miss the part 3 where we start breaking this down. Okay, exit pages. So people land on another page. They might exit that same page, or they might exit from another page. This is the last page that they viewed in the sequence. So very, very important to understand this as well. Where people are leaving, where are you dropping your people? Then this is a very related report for that, which ties that back to what we went over earlier. A couple more reports just to sweeten this up. You have your e-commerce reports. So product performance, which products are selling well, which aren't. You can see it from this report. And then you have your individual sales performance. So this is a bit more toward the advanced version. But in general, to summarize the Google Analytics part, you're looking for direction. Good bit of direction is where people are starting from. So you go to behavior, site content, landing pages. Which devices they are using. If you go to audience and you have your mobile overview, there you can see what's the distribution between mobile and desktop. Where are they exiting? So behavior, site content, exit pages. What are the overall numbers? So there you can go and get one of these like main reports here. So there you're looking for direction, and second you're looking for insights. So that's the deeper dive into this, and then you start asking the question, why is this? On the next part. That's pretty much the Google Analytics. So the most important things is understanding the traffic volumes, sources, where they're landing, how they're behaving, and then the big e-commerce numbers, like what's the conversion rate, how much revenue are we making per user, how is that different between mobile and desktop, what's the average order value, these kinds of things. Then of course also bottom of the funnel metrics like cart abandonment, add to cart rates, add to carts. Those are important. Now, that's the Google Analytics part. What I like to do is piece this together with the mouse tracking analysis. So this is your Lucky Orange, for example. This is a mouse tracking software I recommend on Shopify. And here you will be then able to see on an individual page or even your mobile menus, like where people are clicking. So this can be very useful for that because Google Analytics is more about how people flow through the site. This is more about what they're actually doing on that individual page. So that's why Lucky Orange or any kind of heat mapping software can be very useful. what are people clicking on, and how far are they scrolling. You can have that from a scroll map. You can have the clicks from a click map, and then generally you can see also visitor recordings. Those can be good ways to understand or starting to understand how people are using the store, how they are viewing the products, and what they are generally doing there. So I really recommend this one. It's a very beginner friendly as well to use a heat mapping software, and not expensive either. So I like to group these together because they do very well complement each other. And of course they're not the same thing, but it's a data-driven analysis mostly. You're looking for data-driven clicks. And there, if you don't want to pay for a software, you can also use Microsoft Clarity. So this is a free heat mapping software, which does more or less the same things as Lucky Orange. However, Lucky Orange does have menu tracking as well. So this is a good alternative to consider if you are very much on a budget. So here with heat mapping, it's more self-explanatory, and you can gain insights from trying to just understanding it. You are looking for things like people clicking on the wrong things. You are looking for checking out those replays, trying to understand how they're thinking, and seeing like how they use different functionalities of the store. If they are using them, maybe you want to remove some elements, etc. So there's a lot there to do. Now, I'm gonna cut it here. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And it would be highly motivating to me if you can just click the like button on the video. Maybe even comment if you like this. And I'll see you on part 3 on the small merchant CRO, improving revenue with minimal investment. Thank you.